Mic check.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. So glad you could be here. As always, if you're new to this thing, before we get started, subscribe down here to the podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. There's a little share link there. Take that share link, put that on your Facebook, put that out there on the Twitter, put it out there so people can see it, so they know what we got going on over here. That's fun.
So, what do you guys got going on? What's new with me? A lot, really. I got a new haircut. I'm in the new house still. That hasn't changed. Hopefully that sticks around for a while. Last episode with Darian Irwin, it was a lot of fun. This is going to be a solo episode, so if you want a guest episode and you haven't heard a new one yet, go check out the last one with Darian. We had a whole lot of fun. We talked about going before we went to go see Tim Dillon, which ended up being a whole lot of fun. Tim Dillon was at the comedy club for a weekend, and I gotta goddamn tell you, I love that guy. He's the best comic, I think, for right now. Tim Dillon, if you're unfamiliar with his work, check out his podcast. You might not enjoy it. Not everybody's going to love it. It's kind of like he really just does what I like in comedy. Like a person that just says the thing they're not supposed to say. That's kind of what always makes things the funniest, is where you just say somebody can get away with saying something, and they don't like really believe it, but it's just like, a lot of people actually don't like that nowadays because it's like trigger words. That's essentially what the kind of comedy that, and I don't just like things that are triggering just to be triggering. And I have a good example of that. So it's been another week since Tim Dillon was there, and we had a comic, Nick DiPaolo. Nick DiPaolo is at the comedy club, and that guy just says trigger words, and he's not funny at all. So I had a pitch counter with me, and I'm not even kidding. Between his two shows, the guy said the gay F word 17 times. 12 times in the second show alone. So this guy is just up there. Like, anytime a joke's not working, anytime he's bombing, he just say the gay F word. And I refuse to say it because it is a slur, and I'm not, that's not the kind of comedy that I like. Now, Tim Dillon is a gay man, and he doesn't really say that word on stage. And he says things like Ruth Bader Ginsburg is burning in hell as he's getting standing ovation. That's funny to me, That's comedy. To say that an angel of a woman, she's a Mother Teresa type character, that, as you're getting a standing O and everybody enjoyed your show, you just go, hey, that lady that just died, she's burning in hell. So that guy's one of the greatest comics working today. If you're unfamiliar with his work, check out his podcast. It's about exactly like what I just said. So Nick DiPaolo, honestly, not that far off from Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon is a funny Nick DiPaolo. Nick DiPaolo's just sad, and he's angry. So fuck that guy, Nick DiPaolo. You know what he did say? And this is, comedians, they can say whatever they want. And I'm not somebody that's going to be like, even if he gets up there and says all that shit, I would just tell you that if he was funny, he'd be funny. That's it. I don't care what he would say. If he's funny, he's funny. And I'd tell you he said that. I doubt a guy that goes up there and says all that stuff in hate, not even in jest, not even as a punchline for a joke, just a bunch of slur words. He slurred the Chinese more than the gays. He slurred the Chinese so much. He really hates the Chinese. So Nick DiPaolo. A guy like that's not normally going to be funny to me anyway. You can't constantly slur the Chinese and have a good act. It's just not going to work. You could do it a couple times and make it funny, and look, it's fine. Look, slur Italian, slur whoever you want. I don't care. You just got to be careful of the verbiage you use, and you got to be funny, baby. That's not necessarily the views I want to represent, but dude, Nick DiPaolo is just a hateful Italian guy that's just not successful. Apparently, he can't get work. I don't want to stop myself and say not successful. He is successful, not successful anymore. He can't get work in the west part of the country or the north part because he just goes and. I guess his idea of comedy is just getting to go on stage and say a whole bunch of words that you're not supposed to say and just not be funny while you're doing it. That's his comedy. That's essentially what's going on. Tim Dillon, on the other hand, he says a bunch of shit that you shouldn't say, but it's hilarious jokes. It's just it's hard to just. He's like if Bill Burr was Alex Jones. That's essentially what Tim Dillon does. And Nick DiPaolo, something I didn't enjoy at all, is that he performed the day after Bill Burr's Saturday Night Live sketch, and he complained about Bill Burr. He said Bill Burr sucking black cock on SNL. He was saying that he was just playing like a race traitor as a white guy to just playing to black people on TV. I mean, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? He made a brilliant. All the people that are upset at him on the internet, which are almost nobody. It's probably almost nobody. I mean, all the people that are acting like they're upset, there's all these comics coming out in defense of him and people that liked it coming out and saying it was funny. I mean, for a comic to come out and be like, oh, he actually played too much into the just like going at white people. I mean, this guy, Nick DiPaolo, is just like a racist guy that's barely fucking doing comedy anymore. So that's my life, baby. That's what I get to see. I saw the Southern Mama, racist, not good at comedy. And then Tim Dillon, not racist, but acts racist, but good at comedy. And then Nick DiPaolo, racist, was good at comedy, but not good at comedy. I mean, that's how it goes. Later on, we're gonna have Rodney Carrington. We'll see how he fits into that. It's good. That's really the Mount Rushmore of new comedy. It's the Southern Mama, Tim Dillon, Nick DiPaolo, and fucking who did I just say? Rodney Carrington. And then we're gonna get Eddie Griffin. That's a hell of a month. That's a hell of a month at the comedy club. Southern Mama, Tim Dillon, Nick DiPaolo, Rodney Carrington, Eddie Griffin. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's hard to believe that's a building that does all the same things. It's just comedy. But I mean, Eddie Griffin, that guy is so crazy. He just doesn't he's not allowed to be around women because he doesn't understand the Me Too movement. That's what's going on with him right now. So we're going to have that guy around. That's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, how dare Nick DiPaolo say Bill Burr is that's what he got out of his SNL monologue, that he was being like a race traitor and sucking black dicks to fucking. That guy's actually racist, and he probably hates that Bill Burr has a black wife and black kids. I mean, I've seen the guy do stand up twice, 2 shows in a row. I mean, the guy is so angry. It's the only thing that makes sense. And he's been a successful comic enough to have money and live whatever life he wants. And people that focus on just that kind of shit, it's kind of baffling to me. You know, that we had Adam Carolla was also at the comedy club not that long ago. He did a podcast and he did a stand-up show. And that guy is just like, he's successful, one of the most successful podcasters, and it was successful early. And he's got his own studio. He can live his fucking life, do whatever he wants to do. He's got his own podcast like network. He's got his own network of fans. And he just wants to focus on being upset about the world going to shit. It's like, dude, how good do you want it, you know? How good does it have to be? How successful do you I just don't understand how you could get all that and be like, that's the life you choose to focus on. Like, people like, you just want to be racist? I don't know. Kind of petered out at the end of that when I had a good little rant going. Adam Carolla, you want to be just, but you know what I'm saying? Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like I turn into a Rush Limbaugh in here. Anyway, dude. I hung out with if you're a family member of mine, I know that's probably 50% of the audience. Maybe you don't want to listen to the next story. I hung out with you just turn it off, I hung out with a girl from the Tinder the other day. And that was, that's never good, I don't think. To hang out, you meet a girl on the internet and she just comes over to hang out where you live. You can't go out to bars, you can't go on dates now. So that's just what you have. And that's not necessarily a good, I'm not doing a shame here. But it's normally not like a good, after the thing happens, after you hang out, it's never like, oh yeah, that was fine, that was all the way fine. It's normally never the case. So I'm hanging out, I'll play this goddamn mic stand so much. This girl comes over within 5 minutes of being in my house. She is definitely an insane person. She said to me that she does inner personal healing or something, some inner child healing, and that she had created an algorithm through mathematics to find trauma and with astrology. That was what she said. She said that she created an algorithm with math to identify your trauma and cellularly and relieve it with astrology. And I was like, all right, lady, let's just, whatever we got to do, let's just do it so you can get out of here. I mean, those are the people you meet, dude. You think it's going to be, like a nice, I don't know what I think it's going to be. Just a strange, like an attractive woman that just wants to hang out with you at your house and doesn't know you. That's almost not a person that exists. and they barely exist, but then they're going to pull out a Ziploc bag full of crystals in your home, and that's what happened to me. The lady, I'm not even a Ziploc bag full of like geology. You know, she had like a whole like rocks and minerals, crystals. She offered me a crystal. She said, "Take which crystal you want." I said, "I'll take this big ass Superman looking crystal." And I have it in my room right now. She gave me candles. She had a bag full of candles, and she said, "Take these orange candles. They stimulate creativity. You seem like a creative. Here, take these orange candles." Burn. I got the orange candles. They're in my car. I don't want to leave them in my house. I feel like they're gonna curse. If I burn them, she put a curse on them. So anyways, we watched like Naruto or whatever, and then we hung out for 45 minutes, and she left my house. I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. I mean, are we going to hang out again? Probably not. Probably not. She had incense, candles, crystals, was healing inner child. She's asking me questions. And this is the worst part. After we hung out for an amount of time, she told me that she was voting for Donald Trump. And that's the worst part of the whole thing. Is that? And I'm looking with the crystals voting for Trump. You travel with the crystals, bag full of candles. And she's like, "I just feel more comfortable. I will own if I voted for Donald Trump." That's what she said. Not like, "Oh, I feel uncomfortable with it. I'm just not going to vote this year." She said, "With everything that's going on with my crystals and the healing and the inner child, I'm voting for Donald Trump." And that was the worst part. And that was, if she would have told me that earlier, probably none of that stuff that happened would have happened. You know? But God damn it. I feel dirty about it, you know, to know there's, you know, there may be one person in my past that's voting for Donald Trump in my relationship past votes for Trump. And I mean, not even it was in a relationship. I mean, any kind of in your intimate past. I maybe got one other, and this was an immediate with it's happening now. This one was older. Trump wasn't even involved. He wasn't even in the zeitgeist to be voting for Trump. So it wasn't like a thing. It wasn't a thing for me. But I mean, with the crystals for Trump. Jesus Christ. I mean, I just think about her. She's healing a lady with her inner child trauma. There was like a grabbed by the pussy situation. And she's like, you know, have you considered who you're going to vote afterwards? She's like, you could vote for, you know, anarchy. You could vote for Antifa, or you could vote for freedom. You could vote for healing. You could vote for Trump. I mean, that's her life. She can do whatever she wants, but I have the right to not hang. And I have to remind myself that's what she chose to tell me, is that she's voting for Trump. That's why I'm not going to hang. And I'm not a guy that draws a line on politics. I'm not. I mean, you could vote. Just don't say it with the crystals. I mean, it's like insane. You're going to come over, be crazy, and create your algorithm with astrology, and then you're going to vote for Trump? I mean, get it straight, lady. One or the other. Trump, if you told Trump about crystals, I mean, he's just tweeted that California is going to hell. He said Illinois is lost. It's geography. It's a state. What do you mean it's lost? He said Illinois is lost. It's going to hell. New York has gone to hell. And you think with your crystals, what are you going to heal? You're going to heal the country with crystals? If Trump, if he was in my situation, he would have slept with her and done the crystals. I mean, he would have been like, you know, said, I'll take the creek. He would have, whatever. And then he just said, "I wish her well." And then he, you know, made his security guard drag her into a limousine. I mean, that's what he would have done. I'm a lot better than Trump, really, if you think about it. Jesus Christ. Anyway. I mean, I got my car back. Thank God. It's a lot easier to be doing. I didn't even need the car for this. That's what's so crazy. I've been waiting. I've been trying to date. I've been trying to hang out with people. And it's hard to look like an adult man when you don't have a vehicle. And I don't know if I shared that on the podcast. I've been without a car for a while. And I have a hesitance to tell the real story. But goddamn it, I think I owe it to you to tell the real story about the car. At the beginning of the year, my car broke down on me. I was moving to a new residence, and I literally got done with my last load of stuff moving to the new place, and the car breaks down in the driveway, shuts off, and then I just kind of rolled it out of the driveway onto the street, and then I left it on the street, and then I moved to a new house, and then I left it on the same old street, and then even still I moved to another new house, and it was still just on that street. And so I still owed money on my car, was just going to abandon the situation, just see how that worked out. That was my plan. This is not a joke. It's 100% real. The car just breaks down, and I just was like, my plan was just to leave it. I'll just figure, something will figure it out. So the car apparently just a week ago was towed. And then the tow place got in touch with through an old address, contacted a family member instead of me. And then they said, hey, we got this car and you got to come get it, whatever. And then the family member calls me and said, what's going on with the car? Your car got towed and I'm getting a call about it or whatever. And I just told him the truth. I said, hey, the car broke down and honestly, it's more important for me to build a podcast studio and to do other stuff than to pay to fix the car. And I'm just walking away from it. And that was my plan. And they said, what, are you crazy? You can't just do that. You can't just walk away. And I said, hey, that's what I did. Now they got it and it's been towed. So the long and short of the situation, somebody just paid for the car from the tow place. And then the car just got somebody else, some family banded together. I don't come from a family with money. That's why I don't ask them for help. Then they came together. They paid for the car to be fixed. And then I had enough money. We just paid off the car. I mean, I'm going to try to contribute a little bit of money into it, but essentially somebody else in my family has come together just to pay. So that's what happens, folks. If you just have a car that breaks down, leave it in the street somewhere, move 3 times, and then somebody in your family will find out about it, and they'll just pay for you to have a full working, paid-for car. And that's what happened to me. And honestly, it makes me feel a little bit like a scumbag that I was doing that. But to say it on the podcast, I hope is going to provide me a little bit of relief. But what an insane, I have been feeling crazy just about it. Because nothing works out like that. I've never done anything like that before. But I mean, Jesus, you have a car. It's like a car is second only to like a house. You just have a car, leave it in the street, see what happens. And then what happened was somebody found out about it and people just paid for it for me. And now I just have the car. I mean, in a million years, did I think that was going to be the outcome? No way. You could ask me a million different outcomes. That was never going to be it. I mean, that I could just... Who could, in their rational mind, would do... First of all, I was doing it because I was like, fuck it, fuck the car. Fuck, I'll just walk everywhere. I got to pay for a podcast studio. I'm done with the car. I was just kind of overdriving, done with it. And then I went 10 months without it. It was, and I got to say, the beginning of the year, 10 goddamn months ago. It's the middle of October. I mean, what a crazy thing. I felt guilty about it because it's like, I mean, shit, yeah, I probably should feel guilty a little bit, but it's like, I didn't expect for it to work out. I was just going to take the hit on the not having the car. But now, I mean, Jesus Christ, look at God. Look at what God can do for you. But I mean, what a crazy way for that fucking thing to work out. You just leave a car in the street, people pay for it, now you're just back 10 months later driving it. I mean, 10 months from, I didn't think this would be happening, but now I got a car. I'm an adult now. Now I'm an adult, guys. I'm back to being an adult because, hey, I have a car that I didn't do anything to be able to get it back. I mean, I'm going to take care of it, I guess, and I'm going to change the oil. I've washed it like 100 times. I've got Under Armour wipes, or what are the Armor All? I Armor All'd it, and the tires, I paid for a new tire. I mean, that's something, right? So, I mean, hopefully this is me on my path to becoming a real adult. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. I really was just going to go fuck the car in the street. Just leave it. I mean, what would have happened if they didn't get in contact with somebody? They just would have auctioned it, and I would have just been still no car. Honestly, when somebody called me, they tell me the car's towed. A week and a half from then, did I think I was going to be in the car driving around that I was driving in 10 months ago? I'm not even kidding. I was looking. I had some savings. I was hitting up. I had a friend, and this is crazy. This is what's the craziest part. A person I work with was selling his girlfriend's car. Perfectly good car, just 2 years older than the one that I have. And he was selling it for $1,500. I was just going to buy that car and start over with cars. I was just, whatever, dude. I'm in a new car, my own car, fuck that other car. He brought the car to work to show it to me. I look at the car, I'm all cool with it. He's driving home, gets hit by a truck, the car gets totaled. He's fine, totally safe, but there's frame damage, and he's got to total out the car with his insurance. Then I talked to another coworker. She's got a truck that her son drove, and she was trying to sell it because he got a new car. So I was going to buy that truck for $1,000, $500 less. It's a pretty shitty car, but I was going to have a truck. And then he is driving home in his new car from work one day. His moonroof flies off and flies back into his windshield, shatters his windshield. He's got to go back to driving the truck. And I would have bought the car the one day because they were going to let me pay in installments. They were just going to let me pay it a little bit of a time. I was going to pay like almost all. I could have paid the full $1,000, or I was going to pay like 2 installments of $725 or whatever it would be for the $1,500. But those two people got their cars wrecked and ended up not being able to sell them to me. And then the next day, what if I would have bought the car, initiated this thing? Now I got to deal with this. I got to tell somebody I left the car in the street, and then I have another car that I just went out and got a different one. Probably wouldn't have worked out the way it worked out. That's all I'm saying. I'd have been stuck with 2 cars. Or maybe it had been in a surplus of cars. I could have sold one for more money. Who knows? But goddamn, dude, what a wild ride it was. 10 months with the no car. It's a relief to tell the truth. I'll tell you this, because I don't want to be a scumbag. I don't feel like a scumbag. But the thing to take your car and just leave it in the street, not a non-scumbag move. I'll tell you that. Wait, just like... And I didn't put this in my family's. I do need to say this. The part of my guilt, I got to remind myself. I talked to my sister about it. I didn't ask anybody to help me with it. That was the problem. When the car broke down and I was moving, I didn't want to ask for help. And because my family doesn't have a lot of money, I didn't think they could help me. So my solution, I was like, I don't have the money right now. And as I got money, I was like, I care more about the podcast stuff right now than having the vehicle. So I'm not going to ask for help. I'm just going to leave the car and fuck it, right? So when my family found out about it, I didn't ask them for help. They just were like, here, we're going to do it. They're like, we're going to get the car out of the tow place, and we're going to fix the car, and we're going to help you pay off the rest of the car. So, I mean, look at God. I don't know what to say about that, because I wouldn't lean on my family for anything like that. I would never ask for help in that way, and I didn't ask for help, but I got the help. So it's like a fucking weird way to feel about the whole situation. I mean, I want to feel like an adult that has their own, be proud, and they have their own vehicle, like I paid for something. I didn't do that. But what I do have now is a fucking car. I can drive around, do whatever I want. My commute times have been cut, I mean, in like a quarter. I can go around all day. I don't have to pay for fucking $30 lifts. Sometimes I went somewhere and I have to get back home, and the only rides that you can call cost like $30, $35. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I do it because I like to have fun. I like to hang out. But now I don't have to do that. I just get gas, baby, and I ride that car. I got that car fixed. That car is running good, and I'm going to keep it running good because I'm going to respect my blessings. I'm going to respect it. You got to pay it forward. You got to have gratitude. It's weird to have guilt and gratitude at the same time. Hey, guilt and gratitude, baby. That's what we get. That's what you get when you're white. That's what you get is guilt and gratitude. Jesus Christ. Comedy today was pretty fun. Nate Bargatze, this won't be out by the time these shows are over, but Nate Bargatze's at the club, and he's working on his new Netflix special. I mean, I've seen his hour like 14 times in the last 3 weeks, but he is just trying to work out, I guess, all the beats, and he's working in some new jokes. Dude, he told this story about and this isn't blowing any of his jokes, but he tells his story about he got a concussion. He fell off of a cliff and hit his head and was unconscious, and his friends had to go run for help. They didn't run and help him. They went to try to find somebody else. Some guy in a boat found him and saved his life. It was this crazy story. And then he said they never found who the person was. They never knew who that guy was that helped him out. And then years later, his dad was doing a magic show. His dad's a magician, was doing a magic show in a prison. And then the guy somehow knew who they were and told him that he was one of the guys that saved his kid. And then Nate was like, yeah, so that guy, you know, he got out and we've been bringing him around the shows, and and everybody's like, what? Everybody's looking around and he's like, nah, I'm just kidding. And he's had the whole crowd wound up like he's about to bring out this guy that saved his life. And it was, the laugh that it got was, I mean, the crowd didn't know Nate was going to be there performing, so it was like 100 people there. But the room was like a laugh, like it was sold out. The laugh was so big when he said that the guy wasn't there, that he was still in prison. Oh, dude, that's hilarious. To still be the guy saved his life, and now he's in prison. I mean, imagine that's where you find out. And the guy he was like, yeah, that they had just thrown a body into the lake when they had said, he was like, oh my God, more bodies. Like, I can't, whatever. Nate Bargatze, funny guy. Make sure, I don't know where he's filming this thing. I heard he's filming it in Los Angeles, but I mean, they're going to shut it down. I mean, they're shutting everything down. I mean, how do we feel about the COVID? I don't know how everybody feels. Comedy, I mean, in Nashville, this guy just came to Nashville. He's from out of town. This guy, Sean Foyt or whatever. And he did a religious gathering at the courthouse. So he was supposed to do it at Rocketown, which Rocketown, if you don't know, is like it's associated with some kind of religion thing, but they do like metal shows there, and there's like a skate park there. So it's like weird. You can't like cuss there, or they'll like throw you out or something. It's super lame. So they were going to do it there, but it got canceled because of venue restrictions. And then they just had it outside the courthouse. Like 10,000 people showed up. They're all like spitting on each other and baptizing in a bathtub or something. And the guy was just talking about the grace of God. And it made everybody so mad in Nashville. Everybody in Nashville was like, these people, you come to our city and we're this close to getting out of the COVID stuff. And you're going on a tour to, he was in Atlanta the day before, and he had like 3 different venue changes. Like he was supposed to be in this place and then at this park, and there was a tornado, and then had to be in some warehouse. And I don't know, man. This is what I think. Don't come to my godless city with your God. That's what I say. Look, you should know coming to Nashville, it's a little blue city in a big red state. And it's the biggest blue city in small red state, if you think about it like that. So don't come to our city where we don't have God and try to tell us that there's God, okay? I mean, we had 10,000 people, and sure, there's people here that love him. They believe in Jesus, and I believe in him, all right? And I don't have a problem with you worshiping, or I don't even care about COVID-19. But, don't bring God to this city, because it's not going to work. We live a heathenistic lifestyle in this city. There's people with penis straws in a hat, like a balloon animal. Someone hired a balloon animal artist to make penis hats, and the city is full of them. Those are the people. It's a pedal tavern full of godless, soulless individuals. They're all going to hell. I mean, how many people, you go to Broadway, look around, how many people have said the N-word there? Most? I think most. I mean, the people playing the stages, the people going bar hopping, all slur. They slur, and they don't just slur Italians like me. I slur other whites exclusively. I'm not going to slur anybody that's not white. And that's still open game. If you're not cool with me slurring other white people, if you're white, if you're Irish, you're Italian, you're Polish, you got a problem with it, I mean, grow up, dude. I don't want to live. If I can't slur other whites, I don't want to live. All right? But I'm not going to go down on Broadway and say any racial slurs towards people of color. I'm definitely not going to do that. Because that's tolerance, baby. That's moving forward. You got to slur a little. That's what you have to do. You can't do no slur. I'm not going to slur gays. I'm not going to slur people of color. But I will slur other whites as long as I can. For as long as I can. As much as I can. What was I talking about anyway? People on Broadway are racist. That religious guy. Yeah, that guy held that huge event. And, I mean, people have just been going crazy over it. Everybody's really upset. I don't know. I mean, again, my stance on it isn't that it spread COVID. I just hate the fact that anybody was, they thought that they were saving their own souls by singing outside of the courthouse. I mean, grow up. Seriously, grow up. You think that's doing anything for your eternal? You're going to get to heaven, and God's going to be like, yeah, you remember when you went to the courthouse during the COVID and you dunked your head in the steel, the big bathtub with the football players take baths in. They took it straight from the Titans practice facility with COVID in the water. They start baptizing children. That's what they did. They're playing music. This is one of the biggest problems I do have with it, is because I know the people at the event. I mean, they're whoever, whatever. I would never go to that event, and I didn't see any of them personally, so I can't attest to how they were. But I know the people throwing the event. Everybody that does those religious bands that's in like this was like a concert. Anybody that's in one of those, they just want to be a musician, and they have no other app. They're like, oh, I can get on a big stage in front of a bunch of people and play music and feel the feeling of being in like a big band. But you don't really know what it's like, and that's all they want really. Is like they trick themselves and like, oh, the God thing is the best thing for me to be able to do my dream of being, Chris Stapleton or whatever. And you're not going to be. You'll never be Chris Stapleton. Out there singing on the courthouse lawn about Jesus. I mean, Chris Stapleton will sing about Jesus, fine. But he'll also sing about, whiskey and pussy or something. Now, he'll sing about it. I've heard tell of it. Country music's about pussy. That's what I want, that country music. Where's the country music about Anyway, that guy's going to hell. I mean, all he wants, really, he gets up on stage, he gets a microphone, he wants to sing and scream and get people to repeat after him, and it's an electric feeling to be up in front of an audience that's really reactive to you. You know, people that repeat after you or cheer, and it's adrenaline. And these people are so, they just don't want to admit to themselves that that's what they're really looking for. They're not looking for Jesus. They're looking for adrenaline. They're looking for a serotonin rush. That's what you're doing, Sean Foyt. You're not out here touring Jesus. You're out here getting people to come see you play music. And you know that because he's got a Premiere Pro video just like out on Instagram of all that he's in the woo, we got worship for 2 hours out here tonight, and I'm so glad that everybody, and I'm Sean, and we put on the event. You can't stop Jesus. It's like, no, you can't stop him. You can't stop him from doing his religious zealot concert when the people got COVID. And again, maybe we open up, I don't know how I feel about COVID right now. I don't say we open up full capacity at venues and just run it, no mask, but like limited capacity, no mask. I don't know what the deal is. This is what I think. I definitely don't think full capacity, no mask. But I might think limited capacity, no mask. Because really all these places are doing, if you're at a place that has food and beverage, you only wear the mask when you come in the door, when you go to the bathroom, anytime you're standing on your feet, okay? And maybe this is just me getting comfortable with this situation. Maybe that is enough to protect people, that it's like, hey, the times that people could transmit when they're passing each other, they're going doing these things where they're sharing common areas. Maybe that's it, okay? But I think maybe if you just walk in there and sit down, that's probably just the same. So, I mean, I don't know. Do we run it? Do we just run it? We run full court? We running fives on a full out here? I think we should. I mean, we could do 3v3 on a half court. We're all masked up. I don't know. One-on-ones? Please. I mean, comedy, maybe I'm biased. I'm looking at I had to think about this inwardly. This is what I really wanted to get to. I'm looking at comedy, and I love comedy, and I think comedy shows should be going on. I don't know if they should be full capacity, and I don't really care if they're full capacity right now. I just think there should be comedy shows indoors, in clubs, somehow. I don't care if they're full capacity. But this guy doing his concert outdoors with the religious people, encouraging 10,000 people to show up, I don't know how I feel about that. Compared to me wanting there to be comedy shows, where's the hypocrisy in that? There is a difference, We're not putting on giant Rose Bowl size shows. I mean, like 10,000 people, that's a fucking lot of people. There's not a venue where you do comedy where you get that many people and it's like normal. Theaters, there aren't even theaters. The biggest theaters don't have 10,000 seats. So these people are standing room on the lawn of the Capitol by the courthouse, just singing about God, baptizing each other in the blood of Christ. I mean, whatever. If you believe it, get out there and do it. Whatever. You got to love it. You got to respect it, I guess. I went to the protest. I went to the Black Lives Matter protest. We all wore masks, though, and we stayed. I think I talked about this on a previous podcast. I was in a crowd full of over 10,000 people probably, but no one touched me. No one touched me. No one stepped on my shoes. None of that. I mean, think of going to a crowd like a music festival crowd where there's thousands and thousands of people and not getting bumped into by somebody. Think about the care that might take to do. I mean, that's pretty fucking cool. So, but these religious folks, they were sweating and touching each other. I mean, that's how you worship. You have to worship with touch. You worship by bumping into strangers. You have to look at a stranger and you go, praise him, and you spit. You both spill rainbow spit into each other's mouths. That's how you worship. I mean, I don't know what church you go to. But that's how we did it in the Pentecostal Holiness Church in Berea, Kentucky. That's how we do business, baby. I was sick in church one time. I did go to a Pentecostal Holiness Church. I had one of the only memories I have is they would anoint you with oil, right, if you're like sick. And these people crowding me. I was small child. All these adults crowding me. They're speaking in tongues, praying for me. The praying in a Pentecostal Holiness Church is very aggressive, and it's all done solo. You don't pray together. Everybody just does their own solo prayer. They pray loud. They pray quiet. They pray the speaking in tongues. Who knows if they're even praying? But they get you. They grab me. I felt like I was crowd surfing on top. They get oil out of a bottle. It looked like a cologne bottle. And they rub it on your forehead like Simba in The Lion King. and then they tell you, that you're not have the flu anymore. I had a cold probably. I don't really get sick ever. I definitely wasn't that sick then. And if I was, why am I around all these olds? Here's what we know now about coronavirus. Should have not been around all those old whites if I was really sick. I mean, those people, the coughing, we should have been all wearing masks then. Think about how many old people have died. We should all just wear masks all the time, huh? We'll keep the old alive as long as we can. Or we should accelerate the process. Which one is it? In the Pentecostal church, what do we do? Do we accelerate the process? What do we do? Go high register on that one. I don't know, man. Life, we're living it out here right now. We're out here living it. Are we going to run it with coronavirus? I'm going to go out to the open mics, I think, next week. I've been holding off on it. I had a good stretch of doing comedy for a good month right before the shutdown, and that was kind of like, I felt really good about it. I felt like I had a lot of positive momentum, and then it just shut down. And now that I'm back at work, and I have had roommates and stuff, I didn't feel comfortable going out before I had a lot of information. And like, what if I get this shit and I put myself out of work or something like that, and it's because I went out and got COVID at a fucking open mic and I end up giving it to my roommate, he gives it to somebody, I don't know. So now that I'm not as worried about that, I'm not going to lie, I know a bunch of people now that have gotten it. I didn't know a lot of people before, and in the last couple of weeks, there are a lot of people I know that have gotten it, and they're fine. So I'm not saying I'm not worried about getting it, but I am saying that world's got to go on, baby. We better just run it. I mean, I'm going to go out. I'm going to do comedy. I'm going to watch comedy shows. I'm not going to go out and worship in crowds of 10,000 with no mask. I'm not going to do that. If they're saying to wear the mask, to keep doing it, I'll wear the mask. I like the mask. I like that people can't see how you feel all the time. I like that I can put the thing on and people are like, oh, are you like they can't tell you how you look on your face. You can be judging people. You can be laughing right in people's face. You can have a look on your face that says that the person is dumb, and they just don't know. And I enjoy that part of life. I like to hide like that in plain sight. And I also think it's very Asian, and Asian stuff is cool. When you use Asian culture, you class yourself up a little bit. I don't know if that's real gentrification, but anything Asian feels classy to me. And the Asians had the mask first, and I feel real Asian out there when I got the mask on. So, say whatever you want about me. I'm not a bigot. I know that much. I'll do anything to get more Asian. I appreciated Asian culture so much. Bruce Lee, Karate Kid, martial arts in general, sushi, General Tso's chicken, sesame chicken. I like all that stuff. So shout out Asians. I really appreciate it. Hey, look, I got a little Japanese. That's a car that a little Japan guy would drive probably, right? I think so. Well, folks, I don't know. Can we talk a little bit about sports before we go? I know that I tried to save all the sports talk for the end. I know we talked about the Crystals bitch. We talked about, what if I was talking about a woman that worked at the Crystals restaurant? I would enjoy that a lot more. What if I met a young, interesting, attractive woman, and she worked at the Crystal Burger? That would be nice. Bring me home some Crystals every night, huh? I'll pick you up from work in my car that somebody helped me pay for to fix. Let's get some Crystals burgers. Let's just hang out, Let's not talk about, healing our inner child and voting for Trump. Let's not talk about it. Anyway, I try to save the sports talk for the end because I know a lot of people don't care about it, but I like talking about it. The fights have been crazy lately. A lot of fun with the fights. Adesanya just beat Paulo Costa, and that was so much fun to watch, man. Adesanya is a guy whose legend is really building, and look at me switching to being like a serious sports broadcaster after talking about Crystal Burgers. Israel Adesanya, he's a guy that's undefeated. He comes from kickboxing. He's kind of got a little bit of legend to him. He's good at the internet. He resonates with young people. He has like knowledge of anime culture, and he kind of manifests all this cool shit into his fights and into his career. And he goes at other fighters and he bullies them and he tries to get reactions out of them. And then he goes out and he embarrasses motherfuckers on like live pay-per-view every time. I mean, everybody always looks at Adesanya's fights, and the criticism they'll give you is that he hasn't had a ton of interesting fights outside of the Kelvin Gastelum fight. And it's like that he doesn't incite a lot of action and he's only a counter striker. But the reality of the situation is, when you have all these fights now in the UFC that you can watch from him, people are afraid of him. When they get into the ring with him, they see how fast he is. They judge his speed. He's like a step or a step and a half just quicker than you. He can slip your punches and come in and hit you and count you. I think these guys recognize his speed once they finally get into the octagon with him, and they become they can't do what they normally do. They know they have to adjust and they have to come up with a new game plan. And part of that game plan is going to be not to be in his range to get hit. And if he's a counter striker that's going to wait on you, and he's the champion that's not going to put himself at risk to win the fight, you're going to be the one that has to put yourself into it, and all these guys that do are getting knocked out. Robert Whitaker was just going right at him and trying to hit him and trying to knock him out. Paulo Costa wanted to try to do the same thing, and I think he landed 2 shots the whole time. Adesanya didn't get hit in the face one time in the fight. Then after the fight, Adesanya gets on top of Costa after he knocks him out and dry humps him in the middle of the octagon in front of the entire world. Just emasculated. Takes the guy's soul. I mean, he literally snatched the guy's soul. The guy's like a Brazilian, So he's got a lot of pride. And, Brazilians just have like a great pride, especially because of their country and especially in competition. I think it's just like something that you see more out of a Brazilian population of athletes than you do out of anybody else. I mean, he was embarrassed, but he can't speak English good. So now he's all over the internet, like calling Adesanya out, telling him to sign the contract, telling him to have a rematch. And there's no rematch. There's no contract. These guys aren't going to fight again. Costa's going to have to win at least 2 more fights against top contenders. Like, he'd have to beat, the winner of Cannonier versus Whitaker, or the winner of Till versus Hermanson, or somebody like that. He's going to have to win a pretty serious fight. And I don't see, honestly, he doesn't know what I thought about the fight beforehand. And this is on a former episode, on a Patreon episode. If you want to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/myroom. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of premium episodes and stuff that I don't want to release on here. But I talked about it on there before that Costa just isn't being himself. I think I thought Adesanya would win because Costa was not being true to himself. He wasn't acting like he knew who he was. And when he got in the ring, he wasn't able to be himself as a fighter. It's like he forgot his identity when he was in the fight. And Adesanya knows who he is all the time. He knows who he is out of the ring. He knows who he is in the ring. Like, he knows who he does. He never comes out in press conferences and is not himself. He's not going to let another guy dictate all the pre-fight drama and the press conference stuff and make him look like somebody that's not him. He's going to be himself, uniquely himself. He's got a great personality. He's great on the mic. He's entertaining. And it seems like he can take a lot of guys out of their element. A lot of his competition has been guys that are kind of quieter guys, the guys that don't stir up the media and cause all this drama. And Costa has tried to become one of those guys, and it wasn't good. Like, I mean, it didn't work out for him. I think he convinced himself that he was somebody that he wasn't. He had this crew of guys hanging out with him, and you hear in the press conference they did outside in Abu Dhabi, Costa would say something like a joke, and it was broken English and not very funny at all. And then his guys, where you would hear his guys in the back, like, all laughing and cackling. It was pretty sad. He had like an entourage of guys with him that were like pumping him up and laughing at his jokes. And you need people that are going to, I'm no expert in mixed martial arts, but I know in life you need a crew of people around you that are going to let you know who you really are. If you want to be a man, like the man, you want to be a badass, you got to do that shit really. You can't go out there and just make a public image of yourself being somebody that you're not. Because people are going to see right through that, especially in a game like fighting where the consequences are like another guy knows who he is outside and inside of competition, and he takes you apart because you're just like you've been made full of yourself, drinking your own Kool-Aid. You're not seeing yourself for who you really are. You don't know your real identity. I mean, the guy has been undefeated and not had a lot of struggle in competition in his short mixed martial arts career. Adesanya's had a long kickboxing career that parlayed into his UFC career. His UFC career is longer than Costa's, and Costa doesn't have any other like long athletics career like Adesanya does as an adult, So I think you knew, if you were smart, you knew you could have predicted what happened. That's what and I told everybody. I was like, Costa's not who you think he is. You're going to see in this fight, yeah, he fought Romero like running right at him, but Romero isn't Adesanya. I mean, Romero, he is a counter striker. He needs you to run at him, and if you run at him, he's not like this crazy skilled picking his shot striker like Adesanya is. So you can afford. A lot of people are afraid of him. They treat Romero like he's the boogeyman, but you can run right at him if you're a strong guy, if you can take a shot, if you can deal with his sneaky athleticism when he's going to jump up and throw some flying knee or hit you with the body kick or something like that, you know. So Costa could deal with that. But look at the fight after that fight with Romero and Adesanya. I mean, Romero did nothing because he was trying to frustrate. I just think that showed a lot about who Romero is and the oppressiveness of Costa's win at the time, you know, because he had to run right at him, and it was still it was up in the air. It could have been a split decision, 3 rounds. I think it was split decision, but a lot of people thought Romero won. I thought Costa won. I don't know. Costa's just not who we thought he was. He's not who we thought he was. And I'm glad to get that prediction. I don't like to see anybody fail. I don't like to see a young man get knocked out. I just hope he admits to. I like to see a fighter admit to himself who he is and come out with like a humbleness or like a realness in their pursuit. And not everybody has to be Conor McGregor. Not everybody has to be hot on the mic. I mean, especially, dude, you can't speak hot English. You're not in the English-speaking crowd is who the media all plays to, whether you're abroad or in America. I mean, English is the language that fighting takes place in with the shit-talking with most of these champions. I mean, there's not a lot of... I mean, we have Davison Figueiredo from Brazil. You got Valentina Shevchenko is from Eastern Europe. Amanda Nunes is Brazilian. But these are 3 people that don't talk a lot of shit. Adesanya speaks English. He's from New Zealand. Kamaru Usman is originally from Nigeria, but he's American as it gets. Stipe Miocic is an American. Justin Gaethje, American. Khabib is I think the outlier. He talks a lot of shit, and he kind of has some broken English, but we've come to love that from him. And it's crazy that Khabib's existence and his persona, and we're used to him on the mic, that has kind of paved the way for Khamzat Chimaev, the breakout middleweight and welterweight, to be attractive on the mic as well. Like, it used to not be. Americans wouldn't pick up a guy that's got a little bit of broken English, but we kind of find that because it could be, there's a little bit of humor to that, like Russian, Dagestani accent when you're talking shit. I think it's a lot of fun. It's become like a meme. It's like an internet, send location and stuff like, So, dude, the fights are hot as ever. I mean, Khabib is about to fight Gaethje in a week. This weekend, we have Brian Ortega versus Korean Zombie. It's a huge fight at 145. Brian Ortega hasn't fought in almost 2 years. I think his last fight was against Max Holloway. He was supposed to fight Chan Sung Jung like 4 different times. The shutdown has stopped it. Injuries have stopped it. Different things have gotten in the way. We're going to get... Conor McGregor just came out and he said that he's going to fight Dustin Poirier. He wants to fight Dustin Poirier to warm up for a Manny Pacquiao fight, which is pretty interesting to me, to come out and pick Dustin Poirier, who is a guy that's at the top of the 155-pound division. I'm sure that they're going to have the fight at 155 because Dustin wants to be a title contender again. If he gets a win against McGregor, that puts him right up in there. I mean, if Khabib beats Gaethje, then Khabib will probably retire or fight GSP or something. He's not going to fight Conor again. If Dustin gets a win against Conor, he might fight Dustin again. Highly doubt it. I mean, Khabib's going to be looking for a big fight to go out on, like whatever super fight he can get to be his last fight. But again, if he loses to Gaethje, whatever happens with this fight is going to open up the 155-pound division so much, because Khabib is going to go away. If Khabib loses, what happens? That's what's so interesting to me. If Khabib loses to Gaethje, you got to think immediate rematch. I think you have to. Or, I mean, if Khabib loses to Gaethje, if Conor doesn't fight Dustin, is he just going to go up and fight Gaethje, wait for after all this talk with Dustin? Or is Conor really concerned with fighting Pacquiao? Because Conor's not going to be in the timeline for a UFC title if he's planning on fighting Pacquiao. He's going to have to be fresh for that, and he's not going to be able to come right off. Manny Pacquiao is going to be no walk in the park for Conor McGregor. He's going to get his ass whooped way worse than he fought when he fought Floyd Mayweather. I mean, it's going to be bad. I don't know if he's just trying to stir up attention for people to watch him in the UFC game, but I mean, if he fights Dustin and then he fights Pacquiao, he's out of the UFC for so much longer after that the title picture at 155 is going to change so much drastically without him. And, of course, he'll be able to slide right back in there, but not if Khabib remains champion. How long if Khabib wins, he'll probably stay champion for like over another year, because he'll wait. He's not going to fight again until the end of like next year. He won't fight in the spring. He won't fight in the first half of the year. He'll fight in the fall, in like October next year. The guy fights like once a year now as champ. So you kind of want Khabib to lose, and maybe lose and Gaethje not take a ton of damage. And then Gaethje can fight Conor for the title. Or Gaethje, if Dustin and Conor actually fight, if Conor loses, Gaethje-Dustin rematch, because Gaethje should have beat Dustin Poirier, but he was fighting kind of dumb, and then Poirier knocked him out. So all these, and Tony Ferguson could come back in. Who's Tony Ferguson going to fight? He could fight Conor. He could finally fight Khabib. If Khabib loses, Ferguson-Khabib, we could finally get that fight. Will Khabib take a fight that's not a title rematch if he loses? Highly doubted. He definitely deserves the title rematch. If you remember how Khabib got to the title, he beat Al Iaquinta for a vacant title. And then he had to beat, he beat Poirier, and who else did he beat? Conor. That's it. So, like, as a title, he won against Iaquinta, he beat Conor, he beat Poirier. And so he hasn't had a huge pedigree as a champion of wins. And he honestly didn't have a crazy pedigree of wins against opponents that you recognize to get to the title. But you know that he's the best. I mean, he would do this to any of these guys. But Justin Gaethje with the wrestling defense. Justin Gaethje's an All-American wrestler. He was the highlight Justin Gaethje before he even knew how to strike. He was slamming guys with his wrestling and knocking them out, and that's how he got his nickname. And then he became this guy that loves to strike and loves to fight. And with that wrestling background, Khabib's never faced a guy like that in his UFC career, at least. I'm sure he's faced all kinds of wrestlers, but then the striking as well of Justin Gaethje. So it's going to be, God damn, dude, I can't wait. I mean, what's going to happen? Who knows? You got to think that Khabib probably will just take him down and beat him just like he beats everybody else. I think that's what will happen. Because to avoid the takedown and stay on the feet, Justin Gaethje has to control the center of the octagon. He has to stay in the center. And this is what's super interesting. This is what I do like about the fight. Khabib has relentless pressure, and he moves forward. He finds ways to, if he can't get you to move backwards, he'll find a way to just kind of get you to move backwards, and that's when he'll shoot the takedown. With Gaethje, he has relentless pressure. I mean, he has learned now how to kind of move in and out and strike in and out of range and not just be there to get hit. But that guy, you talk about a guy with pressure. I mean, Justin Gaethje is one of the greatest pressure fighters that we've ever seen. I mean, especially because he's a striker. Khabib's a pressure fighter, but he's going for the wrestling. He's putting pressure on you that way. But the threat of the leg kicks from Justin Gaethje. I mean, Khabib is going to have to pressure from distance outside of striking range, and Justin Gaethje is not a guy that you're going to be able to do. You're going to have truly the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. I said that all my consonants and vowels, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. I think that's really what you're going to see. Two guys that fight with pressure in different ways. Khabib is going to have to control distance to not get hit. He might have to move backwards and get the takedown from moving backwards. I don't know if that's going to work for him, because what he needs is a takedown against the fence, because that's how he's going to keep you down for a long period of time and beat you up. What Khabib does to everybody, he gets you down against the fence, and then he ties up the legs, flattens you out, gets control of one wrist on the side, and then he just pounds in your face with his other hand while he's holding your wrist. I mean, that's what he does to everybody. That's what everybody knows he's going to do. He's going to shoot for an ankle from far out after pressure. So, I mean, Gaethje has been training with Kamaru Usman, who is a guy that fights like Khabib but a weight class up. And honestly, Kamaru's got a lot more in the striking department. He does a lot more striking than Khabib does. But he's a guy that can probably give you that hard physical wrestling that Khabib can offer. I just don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be history. I mean, you love to see fight history. It's going to be one for the ages. It's an interim title. It's a unification title bout in lightweight division. And it's really going to open up for, you just don't know what the future holds for that weight class. And it's so stacked with people. People could come down from 170 to do it. There are people that could come up from 145 into that division. It's just a really, really interesting time for all those fighters. And the matchups, any of the matchups that we're going to get at the top of that weight class are unbelievable, and it's going to be Hall of Fame level fights, every pay-per-view that you get from headlining lightweights, like moving forward. It's just going to be crazy. Hopefully Conor McGregor fights Dustin. That's a rematch that the fans would all love to see. And the hardcore MMA fans, I mean, they're going to love to see Dustin Poirier box the ears off Conor McGregor. I mean, Conor thinks he's going to go in there and just get a warm... He put it on social media. He wants to go in there and get a warm-up boxing match against Dustin Poirier to prepare for Manny Pacquiao. If you come in there and get washed by Poirier, you think you're going to go and just fight Pacquiao like after getting washed? I just don't know. It's crazy to me. Because Poirier is, with Khabib, there was the whole wrestling disadvantage. But now, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's got maybe the best striking, most well-respected boxing in the UFC of any division. I mean, Dustin Poirier is a killer striker, really good fighter. I just don't think Conor, the way he's been out of the ring, and he's going to be training for boxing, heavier gloves, a different style. Who's to say that Poirier is not going to shoot a takedown? He's not going to jump a guillotine. He's got all these different threats. He is working for MMA. He's got a fighter's mindset. That dude is a fucking serious guy, scary guy. And now he's a guy that knows who he is. You're talking about a guy that was been always good. Now he truly knows who he is. He has his family. He knows his identity. He doesn't have to be somebody to try to be somebody he's not, you know? And that's a dangerous guy, I think, to fight. A guy that's still, he's got his money, he's got his family, he's happy, and he's still got that grinding mentality of, like, he wants to be the best. That's what he's got left to prove. He knows who he is. He has conquered himself. Now he's really trying to conquer the sport. And Conor McGregor is a guy that's got a lot of money and makes a lot of mistakes. And I'm not saying that guy doesn't know who he is. But the timing for him mentally versus the timing for Poirier mentally in that fight, it's good. I would predict an upset. I wouldn't bet against Dustin Poirier if I was you. If I was the listener of this podcast and I was going to bet on that fight if it does come to happen, don't bet against Dustin Poirier. He's going to go out and finish Conor McGregor. I believe that. I truly believe it. So those are the most interesting fights going on now. We got Conor versus Poirier, hopefully. We got Khabib versus Justin coming up just around the corner. Ortega versus Chan Sung Jung. I mean, it's hard to hype up that fight. It's going to be a great fight because Chan Sung Jung's a great striker. He goes out to put on a show. Ortega's striking has been getting better all the time. He's got entertaining jiu-jitsu to watch. You know, when he jumps a guillotine and he gets a hold of a guy, it's entertaining. He doesn't just take you to the ground and drag you out and have a boring fight. He integrates his jiu-jitsu and his grappling very well to keep the fans' attention. So I think that's going to be a fight night this Saturday on ESPN and ESPN Plus the app. Am I doing an ad for him? I don't know. Maybe ESPN, if you come get this money, give me this ad money, baby. And then it's going to be pay-per-view for Khabib and Justin, and we don't know when Khabib and Conor's coming. I think the UFC doesn't want to make that fight, but they're trying to force it. So we'll see what happens. But, guys, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. As always, make sure you come, before you leave, subscribe to the podcast if you didn't do it already. There's a share link. Hit the share thing and take that and share it. We got a Patreon now. There's premium episodes on there. You go to patreon.com/myroom, and you can check us out there. It's just $1 a month for premium content, premium guest episodes, stuff that I feel uncomfortable putting out online for free. And there's going to be a lot more of that stuff coming soon. We're going to have merch soon. Make sure you follow me on Twitter @David Chastain and Instagram @DavidChastain_, and all that good stuff, man. Come back and see us. If you don't like the videos, get us on Apple Podcasts, get us on Spotify, get us on SoundCloud. We're all over the place. Thanks for coming back again, and come back next time. Check out the other guest episodes. I'm David Chastain. This is my room. Good night.